Let's consider the enumerated data type, which we can ultimately use to select between the two different pulse shapes. I'll begin by placing the enumerated control, and to get a sense of how this works, I'll just right away create an indicator for that. Let's add some options to our control. Under Edit Items, simply type in the text that you would like to appear for each of your different options. And I'll call mine choices A through C, and I'll also add a choice called none of the above. A little bit of a typing glitch there, but it's easily corrected. For example, I want to scoot this one up, and click on that or double click in order to select the text, and you can make the changes as necessary, and then you can delete options too. Once this looks the way you like, you might note that each one of those is associated with its own numerical value. The wire is broken now because the display is no longer compatible with that particular enumerated control, so I'll make a new indicator for that. Each time I run this VI, the front panel control is scanned for its value, and then that's displayed on the indicator. So notice that if I change the control and then run it, of course we see the values reflected by the indicator. Now this enumerated control is to ultimately operate a case structure, and before I establish the connection here, let me back up for just a moment and note that the default for the case structure is 2 panels based on a Boolean case selector. Simply wire the enumerated control, and suddenly you see the options that you typed in earlier showing up. Now notice that it's not seeing all of the possible options that you typed. Simply add a case for every value, and we're set. Also notice that case or choice A at the moment is default. Suppose you wanted none of the above to be default. At that point, simply type in comma default, and notice that now the default case has moved to the bottom. I'll go ahead and put in just some real simple things in our case structure for the various choices. Of course, you'd want to put in something more meaningful to the application, but just to illustrate this idea, let me put in a constant for choice A. I'll put a random number generator for choice B. Put down another constant for choice C. And lastly, for the none of the above, I'd like to illustrate what happens in terms of setting a default value. Notice that the tunnel coming out of the case selector is white at the moment, and that's your indicator that not all of the cases are properly established. So we need to connect the output of each one of those things, the constant or the random number, to the output tunnel for the case structure. Got two options here. You could go ahead and create a constant which defaults to 0, or you could select use default if unwired, and you see there's a slight change in the visual indicator to indicate that you are in fact using that default. Let's look at what actually comes out of the case structure. So we recognize the constant appearing for choice A. There's the random number that updates itself every time that you run the VI. Choice C is another constant, and none of the above shows the default value of 0.